Have you ever wondered why you keep attracting the same type of person even when you change phases, cities, appearances, or expectations? Emotionally unavailable people, confused people, people who seem intense at first but then cool off, people who spark hope and, shortly thereafter, leave you frustrated. Taoism begins with a simple but uncomfortable statement: nothing that comes your way is entirely random. The Tao does not speak of guilt, it speaks of patterns. And patterns are not formed by chance, they are formed by energy, direction, and internal state, when the same type of relationship repeats itself. The Tao does not ask who is the problem, it asks what flow is being emitted. The modern mind tries to solve this problem by looking outward. You analyze behaviors, you study emotional language, you try to understand the psychological traits of others. But Taoism completely reverses this logic. It teaches that you don't attract people by what you say, nor by what you consciously desire. You attract people by your dominant state. State is not thought. State is tension, neediness, internal direction, rigidity, or fluidity. Two people may want love. One attracts presence, the other attracts absence. The difference lies in the internal axis of each. Taoism never treated yin and yang as masculine or feminine in the social sense. They are movements of life. Yang is advancement, action, direction, emission. Yin is reception, space, pause, restraint. When there is balance, the relationship flows. When there is an excess of yang, life responds with yin. And here is the point that almost no one realizes. When you repeatedly attract the wrong people, it is often not because you have too little yang, it is because you have too much yang. You desire too much, you project too much. You invest too quickly, you give in too soon. You explain too much. You try to align the other person to your rhythm. The Tao calls this flow misalignment. Taoism observes nature to explain human relationships. When the sun is too strong, the earth cracks. When the current is too intense, the ground gives way. When the pressure is constant, something breaks away. In the emotional realm, the same thing happens. Excess yang creates invisible tension, and tension demands compensation. Life then responds by creating yin in the form of people who do not give themselves, people who retreat, people who disappear, people who do not maintain their presence. Not because they are bad, but because they are reacting to the energy field you emit. The Tao does not judge, it balances. This is where the pain arises. You feel that you are giving your best, being honest, being available, being true. You attract the opposite of what you desire. Taoism would say that honesty is not the problem, availability is not the problem, intention is not the problem. The problem is the direction of energy. When everything in you goes out, nothing stays in you, and those who arrive find a space without a center. The right people feel safe around someone who is centered. The wrong people feel comfortable around someone who has lost their center. In Taoism, the center is called zhang. It is the inner point where you are not trying to prove, conquer, or hold on to anything. When you lose this center, you begin to move out of fear. Fear of losing, fear of being alone, fear of not being enough. This fear does not need to be spoken. It is felt and it acts as a silent invitation to people who also live in imbalance. The Tao is clear. Without center, you do not choose, you respond. There is a reason why these connections seem strong at first. Imbalance generates intensity. Balance generates depth. When two misaligned fields meet, there is a spark, but sparks do not sustain fire. Taoism teaches that intensity is not a sign of compatibility, it is a sign of tension. That is why these relationships start quickly and end confusedly. They were not created in flow. They were created in excess. The mind confuses being chosen with being aligned. When someone dissonant approaches you, you feel validated. When someone confused shows interest, you feel hopeful. But the Tao does not measure value by reaction. It measures by harmony. If you only feel desired when the other person is unstable, something in you is seeking compensation, not connection. And the Tao always gives back exactly what you emit, not what you ask for. Taoism does not teach how to manipulate attraction. It teaches how to stop the wrong movement. When you reduce excess yang, three things begin to happen naturally. First, your presence changes. You speak less to convince and more to express. You observe more. You respond instead of reacting. Your energy stops begging for harmony. It starts to select. Third, the wrong people start to drift away without conflict. Not because you changed your strategy, because the field no longer sustains them. Here is the most transformative part. When you create yin within yourself, inner space, silence, pause, self-observation, something changes radically. You don't rush to fill voids. You don't force continuity. You don't rush intimacy. And this creates something very rare in the modern world. Presence without urgency. The Tao teaches that only those who have space attract what is whole. Many report something curious when this adjustment happens. Connections change in rhythm, in tone, in quality. Less drama, less confusion, less anxiety. The Tao explains this simply. When you align yourself, you no longer attract those who need to hide. You attract those who can remain. Presence attracts presence. Center attracts center. The Tao always teaches through paradoxes. When you stop trying to attract, you begin to attract. When you stop adjusting, you begin to be found. When you let go of the need to be chosen, you begin to choose. Not because the world has changed, but because you have returned to the flow. The Tao does not teach you how to find the right person. It teaches you how to stop sending out the wrong signal. When you refocus, the noise falls away. When the noise falls away, what does not belong dissolves. When that happens, what is compatible comes together effortlessly. And perhaps the question was never, why do I attract the wrong people? Perhaps the real question is, what in me is still trying too hard? When that quiets down, the Tao does the rest, without force, without haste, without loss. That is the way. Subscribe to this channel and let's follow the natural flow of life together.